Today in the grain market, soybeans were a little bit lower. It looks like economic issues are starting to spill over into the grain market. Inflation and rising interest rates are pressuring the futures a little bit. I think it's just got traders some concerned and perhaps a little bit of profit taking, off the table here on this Friday, just because we've got this weekend coming up. Now, there is some concern also about China's lockdown and perhaps the declining demand in that cooking oil. So that's something that we've got to be watching going forward. But just don't be fooled by that, because there are still plenty of bullish issues in the soybean market that should, keep it afloat. But of course, we've got it, both sides trading. But today we were down almost 28 cents really at one point. The CVOL is 22.6%, where the soybean oil is 36 and the meal is 26.4, still pretty strong across the board. Now, corn was a little bit lower as well, like the decline in weekly export sales pushed the market lower. Rainy weather is really kind of hindering the planting, and we're way behind schedule. However, a few days of warm, dry weather should turn that around pretty quickly. I think that's why we see that market a little bit lower as well. At one point, we were down at 20 cents, but possibly, there could be, some follow through selling on Monday, but that's just going to be something to watch. I'm not really sure, how everything is kind of, how the market is digesting all this information. We are still just, in the first week of May, so there's a lot to be looked at for all the grain market. Now, the option open interest has been buying puts all week, so it's not a surprise that we're a little bit lower. The CVOL today is at 33%. Before we go into the weekend, so we'll see what happens on Monday. Now, the wheat did stay firm, though. Export sales were up from last week. We had a 40-cent range, but that's pretty average for today, and it pushed the market up really towards the end of the day. But it's hot and dry in the southern plains. It's really stressing the hard red wheat, and I think it's underpinning a lot of market support here. The winter wheat harvest in Ukraine is really struggling and will not normalize for many, many months. And that is a real issue that we really can't get a handle on what those numbers are. So that's something that we're going to be watching going forward. And yet again, I want to remind you that the CME is going to launch the Canadian Wheat Platts futures contract on June 13th. So I'll continue to remind you of that until we get that started. So it's really only about a month away. So we'll watch that. The option open interest has had a steady increase all week, so it just means a participation in the market and everyone using those options as a way to manage your risk. The CVOL for wheat is up to 43.6%, so it's steadily starting to firm up. Next week, we are going to have the USDA report on Thursday, the 12th, so that's something to watch for when next week starts on Monday.